Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for OnSI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward through yet another season together. As always, you can always find our 100% free 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you follow us on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Today we are going to talk about the Jaguars' Sunday evening trade, sending Fred Johnson to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2026 7th round pick. There's a few different moving parts to this I want to discuss. The first part is why I believe this move was made. And I'm not, this isn't anything that I'm sourcing, because I like to tell you guys when I'm saying things that are my opinion and my observation versus things that I'm hearing talking to people in the building or around the league or whatever. My interpretation from my own eyes and my own really kind of understanding of why the Jaguars in this regime makes the moves they make and why I believe Fred Johnson was traded, because I do think it caught some fans, off guard. I mean, I wrote an article with 3 trade candidates and I didn't include him in it, so you can't even say it caught me off guard. I'm okay with admitting that. Why I think the trade happened, however, I think it goes back to when the Jaguars signed Fred Johnson. They signed him to a small deal, not much money guaranteed, not very long in length. They didn't sign him in the first days of free agency, so he was a free agent for a little bit, so it wasn't exactly a hot commodity or anything like that. But I firmly believe the Jaguars signed him to bring competition to the left tackle and right tackle spots. Walker Little and Anton Harrison. Anton Harrison had faced zero competition in his first 2 years. Walker Little, was always really, I wouldn't say always competing with Cam Robinson for the left tackle spot, because they didn't at all give him a chance to win the job in 2024. But he, obviously battled Jawan Taylor a couple years ago for the right tackle spot. Entering this year, he didn't really have anybody to push him at left tackle. I firmly believe that's why they signed Fred Johnson. Come in and push these two guys. Doesn't necessarily mean they signed him to be a starter. No. But they signed him to create a few different scenarios. One scenario, which I think is the best case scenario, is he comes in, lights a fire under Walker Little, lights a fire under Anton, because they have somebody they have in practice they can put in there over them and say, hey, this guy wants your job. Bring in some much-needed competition, and it makes them better for it. They practice better. They play better. And then you have a competent swing tackle on the back end. I think that was definitely a best-case scenario. I think another scenario is maybe he goes in there to push them and just looks like the best guy for the job. And he did have a solid preseason. When he went in there and played, he did have some impressive reps, impressive stretches. So, that's a guy with starting experience. It's not far out there, in my opinion, to say, he's somebody who could have potentially worked out as a starter. However, in my opinion, I don't think the Jaguars got the guy they thought they were getting in terms of who can push Walker and Anton. Walker has not faced any competition for his job, folks. Walker Little is the left tackle. Walker Little dominated snaps throughout training camp. Maybe not in minicamp and OTAs, but throughout training camp, it was Walker Little's position, nobody else's. And I think part of that was Fred wasn't pushing him. There's little things that you notice watching guys. And I started watching how do linemen break the huddle years ago. It shows you conditioning. It shows you their I want to go run through a dude's face mentality. Are they walking to the line of scrimmage after the huddle? Are they running to it? Some guys run, some guys walk. Fred Johnson was a walker. Fred Johnson was a hands on the hips after a couple plays in the drive guy. And yes, he looked good in the preseason, but I do think there was enough on the practice field to cast doubt over whether he could do that for a 4-quarter period consistently. And to me, the Jaguars have a host of swing tackle options. Wyatt Milam can be your swing tackle. Chuma Edoga can be your swing tackle. Patrick McCary can be your swing tackle. Walker Little and Anton both played left and right tackle at times during training camp. So, to me, once Fred Johnson wasn't pushing Walker Little and Anton Harrison anymore, he became a guy who, simply put, was redundant. They have enough swing tackles. They didn't need another swing tackle. They needed somebody who could go in there and put the fear of God into Walker Little and Anton Harrison about their spots. And in my opinion, what I saw on the practice field, I don't think Fred Johnson gave the Jaguars that. Maybe I'm being too harsh on the guy. Because, I couldn't make it through those practices. The weather, the heat, is otherworldly. But with that said, Fred Johnson, to me, was the guy every practice who looked like he was fighting the hardest to get through the practice out of all the offensive linemen. And I think that matters. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into how he breaks a huddle. To me, all these things matter, though. Liam Cohen talked about wanting offensive linemen who will be blocking downfield, running downfield through the whistle, and then running downfield to line up for the next play. To me, Fred Johnson didn't have that. So, Cole Van Landen, I originally had him off my 53-man roster. I figured they would IR him. He's been out for a couple weeks now. Since before the first preseason game, even. But Van Landen is somebody who the past regime liked a lot. And I believe the current regime is probably high on him. He can be a swing tackle. He can be a quality swing tackle. He really can be. Like I said, once Fred wasn't pushing Walker and Anton anymore, he's just another swing tackle. And they have other ones who are arguably better. So to me, I'd imagine Cole Van Landen will be on the 53-man roster. We'll see when he's back and healthy and whatnot. But the Jaguars have options. Obviously, Wyatt Milam is hurt right now as well. But they have several internal options for that swing tackle spot. And to me, the Jaguars trading him for a 7th-round pick, I think is a solid move. You couldn't trust him to, fill a role you had in mind. You didn't need him to fill the other role that he could possibly fill. So get something for him. Anything for him. Jaguars now had 12 draft picks in the 2026 NFL Draft. 4 picks in the top 100. Now 4 picks in the 7th round, I believe it is. Yes, they don't have a first-round pick because of the Travis Hunter trade. But by stockpiling draft picks the way they have, they can do a few different things. One, you can be aggressive and move up in the draft. Maybe even move back up into the first round and still have other picks at your disposal to make it feel like you're not giving up the farm. And I know it's 7th round picks, but everybody seems real excited right now about LaQuint Allen and Jonah Monheit. 7th round picks, y'all. And on top of that, to me, having a dozen picks in next year's draft, you're seeing so many players get traded for 6th and 7th round picks the last few days. If the Jaguars really want a guy before cutdowns to secure a guy, they now have that option open to them tenfold. The Jaguars have the flexibility now to do so many things with their roster. And do I think they wanted more out of Fred Johnson? Yes. But I also think this can end up being a net positive for the Jaguars. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley, and as always, we'll be back next time.